What's up, Rifle fans? This is in no particular order, but these are the top 5 characters that definitely need to come to Marvel Rivals, or that I would personally love to see come to Marvel Rivals. And obviously, we know that there were leaks of some of these characters coming to the game, but these are some characters I'd personally like to see, and some abilities I think would be hilarious or would probably work for the character or suit them in the game. So, starting off with this list, I'd like to see Colossus. Obviously, Colossus was hinted at in the game. One of my main characters is Magik, the duelist, and she mentions Colossus frequently. I think Colossus would be a great Vanguard. He would have he would probably move a little bit faster than most of the other slower Vanguards. He would offer some protection as well as some utility. Ultimate goes, I'd like him to say something along the lines of, "Let's fight dirty," like in Deadpool 2, where he just does a lot of damage and dishes out all these different moves to knock the opponent on their feet. So he could just be like, "All right, we're fighting dirty." I think that would just be hilarious. So that would be Colossus. And then coming in at number 4, I'd like to see Nightcrawler from the X-Men. And I believe that there were some hints that he was possibly coming too, and talks that he was coming in the game as well too. But Nightcrawler from the X-Men is one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time, besides like Wolverine. And I believe he would also be a duelist as well. You could make him strategist, but more so a duelist, where he will have his sword, of course, and he could teleport throughout the map. Maybe do a thing where he has like after images that are almost kind of like Loki's clones that he does, where if an enemy attacks them, they poof and disappear. But the enemy thought that they were attacking you, but it was really just an after image. That would be cool. Maybe as an ultimate, he could either take out 2 more of his swords and maybe hold one with his tail to do more damage, or he could take an enemy into the Brimstone dimension and teleport them away, kind of like Jeff. I think that would be crazy too. Maybe a team up ability with Doctor Strange, because we know that they've teamed up before in the comics in Days of Future Past. So yeah, that was my pick for number 4. Number 3 is going to be Ghost Rider. And Ghost Rider, you're probably thinking, how is he going to work? Simple. Because Marvel's Rivals is kind of like Overwatch, it's basically just like Overwatch, except it's a third-person game with Marvel characters. Ghost Rider would play kind of like Roadhog, where he could he would throw his chain at enemies, and he could pull enemies forward. But I think they could give him like a flame option, where it's like a burn on contact damage, which I believe they're giving Human Torch when he comes to the game. But give him like a flame on contact damage as well, as enemies are being pulled towards Ghost Rider. He could also probably do an ability where he could, like, the more damage he does, he gets held back, kind of like a penance, something to do with his penance. And then for his ultimate, I could see him just straight up getting on the motorcycle and just mowing people down. Of course, that'll leave like a flame trail, I'd imagine, where it's like flame damage over time. I like to see that for Ghost Rider. So the number two, of course, is going to be Cyclops from the X-Men, because we definitely need more X-Men characters. Cyclops is going to be rather simple. He'll just use his optic beams to blast from medium to far away distance. We could definitely use a character like him to take out those pesky Iron Man type characters. Be my pick for number 2. Number 1 is going to be an interesting choice that I'm going to pick, but my pick for number 1 is going to be Professor X from the X-Men, and you're probably thinking, why Professor X? He's just some bald dude in a wheelchair. Wrong. Professor X has always been portrayed as the leader of the X-Men and the most knowledgeable and sometimes strong. But in most media, they always cripple him. And I don't mean that in a jokingly way. I mean that by like abilities-wise, or sometimes the story will always find a way to kill off or get rid of Professor X altogether. And if you've ever played Marvel's Contest of Champions on the iPhone, I got some gameplay right here. Professor X from that universe, he's not in the wheelchair. He's actually a martial artist, and he's traveled the world learning different martial art styles and meditation skills to cope with him having to read people's minds inherently all the time. And he actually has a cerebral helmet that he wears that actually helps him locate mutants easier instead of having to go to the actual room in the X, in the X mansion, the cerebral room. So I think Professor X could either work as a strategist or a duelist. And what he could do is he could either give enemies. So you know how Mantis can inspire enemies? I think Professor X, or not enemies, he could inspire teammates. I could see Professor X doing something similar too. Or he could inspire himself to do more damage and then project himself onto others. And what I mean is project his image onto the enemy to where they think they're seeing something else. But it's really something something to his advantage, because Professor X can make the enemy see what they want to see. So if the enemy thinks that they're attacking you or something like that, Professor X can make it look like you're winning, your team won, but then it reverses and actually no, your team lost, if that makes sense. So Professor X, he's the leader of the X-Men. He just needs to be playable. I just want him to be in the game. And I think in the files, they said he's in the game too, in some way, shape, or form, whether it be like in the background or in the comics that are in the game. But we need Professor X playable. Like, don't give us these X-Men games, and then Professor X is not playable, because at least he was playable in X-Men Legends and those type of games too. So let me know, what you thought of this list. Give me a like, comment, subscribe. There'll definitely be more content like this to come, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
She don't wanna be saved, don't save her. 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 She don't wanna be saved.